everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. In today's video, I wanted to sit down here and talk with you guys all things how YouTube calculates earnings, because I feel like there are a lot of common misconceptions and confusion and misinformation all about exactly how much money YouTubers earn, as well as just a general lack of understanding as to how YouTube actually arrives at how much money every single creator makes on YouTube every single month. So in this video, we are discussing all things how YouTube actually calculates your earnings, how much money YouTube creators stand to make on the platform, as well as just how to actually make more money on YouTube. So the easiest way to explain how monetization works on YouTube is to envision it as a three-way partnership. And the three people involved in this partnership are firstly us as the creators, then the advertisers who actually put ads on our videos so that we can make money off our videos, and then YouTube, who does all of the background work in connecting creators with advertisers. YouTube does all of this connecting through Adsense, where when you join the YouTube Partner Program, you become eligible to have ads on your videos and make money off of those ads. And then once a month around the same time, YouTube pays us X amount of money, depending on how much money the ads on our videos generated in the last month. So for example, this month in December, creators are being paid all the money that was generated off the ads on our videos in November. Then last month in November, we were paid all the money generated off our videos in the month of October. However, one thing that you do have to note is that creators are not paid all the money that is made off their videos, because the YPP, the YouTube Partner Program, is actually a 55-45 split between you and YouTube, where creators get to keep 55% of the money made off of the ads on our videos, and then YouTube gets to keep the other 45% just for giving us the platform that allows us to make that 55%. So let's say, for example, this month your channel generated $2,500 even off the ads on your videos. You get to keep 55%, YouTube keeps 45%, which then means that out of the $2,500 that your channel generated this month, your earnings are roughly about $1,375 for the month. So that is just a little bit of an overview on how the whole monetization and YPP partnership works. And YouTube has actually made it really easy to track all of our earnings and revenue and all those revenue related analytics, whether you are looking at your analytics in the YouTube Studio app or on the YouTube website on desktop. You can see things like how much money you've earned so far this month, how much you are generating on a day-to-day basis, as well as which of the videos on your channel have made the most money so far this month. Now, when it comes to understanding how much money creators earn on YouTube, there are two different analytics you really need to understand, and those are your CPM and your RPM. If you go into the revenue analytics of any one of your videos on YouTube, you are going to see your estimated revenue, your RPM, and your CPM. Your estimated revenue is just as it sounds. That is how much money YouTube estimates you've made so far this month with your channel before AdSense comes in and does the final calculation. Now, CPM stands for cost per mil, which is essentially how much advertisers are paying for every 1,000 views on your video. So if your CPM is $20, for example, that means that advertisers are paying roughly $20 for every 1,000 views on your video. Then you have your RPM, which stands for revenue per mil, which is actually a newer analytic that YouTube just gave us about a year and a half ago or so, which actually tells you how much money you are making for every 1,000 views on your video after YouTube takes their 45% cut, which is why usually you see that your RPM is lower than your CPM, because your RPM is your CPM after YouTube takes their cut. The other thing that you have to understand about RPM is that just because the advertiser is paying you, let's say, $15 for every 1,000 views on your video, does not mean that every single one of those 1,000 viewers are watching the ads on your videos. Which means that just because your video gets, let's say, 5,000 views, you are not necessarily being paid for every single one of those 5,000 views. You're only going to be paid for the ones who watch the ads on your video. So yes, again, within that three-way partnership, there is you as the creator, the advertiser, and YouTube, but there's also another very important factor in the people and viewers watching your video, and whether or not they're watching the ads on your video is going to impact how much money you're going to generate. Which is where we now get into the common misconceptions about how much money creators earn through AdSense. Now, some people see creators on YouTube getting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of views on their videos, and then based off of that view count will automatically assume that that creator is making an obscene amount of money and revenue through through AdSense. You figure that you see a video on YouTube with, let's say, 1 million views, and you assume that their RPM is maybe $20. You then assume that with those views and that RPM, that video generated about $20,000. But then you pull up all of these videos on YouTube where creators are sharing how much money they made off a video with X amount of views, and then you begin to see that on a video with 2.2 million views, somebody made less than $800. Then on another video with roughly 1 million views, more than half the views the other video got, that video generated over $4,200. The reason for that being that there are just so many factors that go into how your earnings are calculated, and not only how much money you make through AdSense every month and every year, but also just how much money you're making from video to video. Depending on what the CPM and RPM are of each individual video, depending on how many views you get video to video, depending on how many of those viewers actually watch the ads on your videos, also depending on what kind of ads are served to each individual viewer, there are just so many factors that go into that entire equation of how earnings are calculated that for the most part really just aren't in our control as creators. However, there are a couple of things that are a little bit more within our control. For example, no, you can't decide what your RPM and CPM are going to be on your videos. But there are a couple of things that are within our control that we can do to up the chances of getting higher RPMs and CPMs so that we can make a little bit more money off the views our channels are currently getting. Maybe as of recently, the RPMs on your videos have been around $10 to $12, and there are some changes you could potentially make to make your RPMs closer to $20, even $50. That way, you're still sort of getting the same amount of views that you typically get, but you're making more money off those same views. Now, the first sort of like semi-controllable factor that is going to impact how high or low your CPM is going to be is the actual topic of your video. The CPM and RPM rate that is going to be assigned to each individual one of your videos is going to heavily be impacted by the topic of that video. So depending on if you're uploading a day in my life vlog, or a budget with me video, or a football highlights video, or a cooking tutorial, every one of those individual videos is going to have a different CPM and RPM depending on how much every single one of those advertisers is willing to pay on different topics and keywords. According to some recent data, the top 10 most highly paid topics and keywords include things like digital marketing, making money online, personal finance and investments, educational and how-to content, content about tech and gadgets, lifestyle, fashion, cooking, fitness, and also more recently in 2022, video games for whatever reason have become a market and a topic that advertisers tend to pay a lot more money for. So according to poll data, if you are creating videos around any one of those top 10 higher paying topics, then your videos stand a chance of getting a higher CPM and RPM rate because those are all topics that are attracting higher paying advertisers. Now, this definitely does not mean that if you want to make more money off your videos, you should wake up tomorrow and completely change all the content and topics on your channel. But if any one of these top 10 topics could even loosely be related to the content that you're currently making on your channel, if you could occasionally include 1 or 2 videos around those topics, that could actually get you a higher CPM and RPM than you had before. Now, a second factor that also hugely impacts having higher or lower CPMs and RPMs are your audience demographics. Things like where in the world your audience and viewers are watching from, the actual language your videos are in, how old the typical viewer and member of your audience is, all that sort of thing. For example, if you're creating videos in English, you stand to have a different CPM and RPM than if you were making videos in French or Spanish or Italian or Portuguese. Again, all depending on the audience that is the target demographic of certain advertisers. Similarly, if high-paying advertisers are targeting audiences in the US, Canada, Switzerland, Denmark, Australia, having a large majority of your audience being in those higher paying countries, that is going to potentially get you a much higher CPM and RPM than if you had audience members watching from Algeria, Belarus, the British Virgin Islands. So while this is something that is not fully within your control, unfortunately you can't just tell YouTube, hey, I want audience members in the US. Trying to target the same audience as higher paying advertisers, that may get you a much higher RPM and CPM. And then a third factor that also increases your CPM and RPM that I really don't see that many people talking about is very simply having more ad breaks in your video and more ad spaces for advertisers. So whenever you upload a video to YouTube, if you're monetized, you can can have ads at the start of your video. However, if you upload videos that are longer than 8 minutes, you can actually have ads before, during, and after your video. I actually made a whole separate video explaining my entire strategy for all this, but essentially I place one ad at the very start of my video, then I have an ad break before every one of my talking points and another ad at the end of my video. No, not every single person who watches your video is going to see every single one of your ad breaks, because that would just be really annoying and send them off your video entirely. But by having multiple ad breaks throughout your video, you're giving your video more opportunity to have advertisers pay for ads on your videos. And that, for whatever reason, usually gives you a massive increase in CPM and RPM. For whatever reason, from the first day I ever included ads in the middle of my video, I saw my CPM just jump up dramatically and my earnings almost be double on that video. So that is yet another factor that you actually can control as the creator. So I know that I've just crammed a lot of information in this video and now into your brains, but those are all the ins and outs of what is happening behind the scenes and what controls how much money creators make on YouTube. Hopefully this gave you guys a little bit of clarity in some areas that may have confused you before or been like actual question marks to you before. Hopefully it was helpful and hopefully you enjoyed. As always, thank you all for watching. I love you all to the moon and back, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!